Hi, I'm Susan Vaughn, and I will be doing my final presentation today over Betsy Ross. Patriotism, pride, and a symbol of freedom are words that can be used to describe how Americans feel when they look at the United States flag. The flag has changed over the years as our country has changed and grown. This symbol of freedom for all citizens of this great nation was a concept of Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross created an early version of the flag, and as new lands became states, the flag was slightly redesigned to include and represent each new state. Betsy Ross is associated with one of the greatest symbols of America and its fight for independence, and she is an American patriot of the Revolutionary War. In 1680, Andrew Griscom, Betsy Ross's great-grandfather, immigrated from England to the New Jersey area and was a successful carpenter. He later moved to Pennsylvania to become an early participant in William Penn's Holy Experiment. He, along with generations of his family to come, were very faithful as Quakers. And the Quaker religion was derived from George Fox, who went as a young man to many different priests and was seeking inner peace, but was never given a meaningful answer. He heard a voice one day saying, "There is one, even Christ Jesus, that can speak to thy condition." After this experience, Fox was filled with joy, and the central conviction of Friends was born, with the belief that the living Christ can speak to any seeking soul directly. Quakers refer to themselves as the Religious Society of Friends, and this comes from John 15:14, which states, "You are my friends if you do what I command." Quakers believe in a commitment to living lives that outwardly attest to inward experience of direct, unmediated communion with the divine. Mr. Griscom felt that it was very important that him and his family both adhere to the Quaker belief and fervently commit to the Quakers. Griscom's son and his grandson Samuel were also carpenters in Philadelphia, helping build the bell tower at Independence Hall. Samuel married Rebecca James, who was from a prominent Quaker family as well, and together they had 17 children. Elizabeth Griscom, also known as Betsy, was their 8th child. She was born on January 1st, 1752, and she was a 4th-generation American. Betsy attended a Friends or a Quaker school as a child. Along with instruction in reading and writing, she would also have received instruction in a trade. When Betsy was older, she was an apprentice to an upholsterer. In colonial times, upholsterers were involved in all manners of sewing, including flag making. At this job, she met another apprentice, John Ross. Ross was the son of an Episcopal assistant rector at Christ Church. They soon fell in love, and Quakers did not believe in interdenominational marriage, and penalties for such infractions were severe. Quakers were read out if they committed the violation of interdenominational marriage. If one was read out at the Quaker meeting, then they were cut off economically and emotionally from both the family and the Quaker community. One's entire history and community were dissolved immediately. Betsy married John Ross in November of 1773. The marriage created an irrevocable split from her family. John and Betsy Ross soon opened their own upholstery business. This was risky during those times because they had tough competition all around the Philadelphia area, and after being read out, the business would not be patronized by any Quaker. Betsy attended Christ Church with her husband, John Ross, and a significant member of the community, George Washington. By 1776, Revolutionary War was impacting life in Philadelphia along with John and Betsy Ross's upholstery business. The fabrics needed were in short supply, and business was slow. John Ross joined the Pennsylvania militia. In January of 1776, while guarding an ammunition reserve, John Ross was mortally wounded in an explosion. He died on January 21st, 1776, In less than 3 years of marriage, Betsy Ross had become a widow. In the late spring of 1776, 3 members of a secret committee of the Continental Congress, Robert Morris, George Ross, who was the uncle of Betsy's late husband John, and George Washington, came to her house to visit. George Washington and Betsy Ross knew each other from attending the same church. Betsy Ross's daughter stated in an affidavit that Washington had been to their house previously for business as well as friendly visits. According to Betsy's family, she talked to them about the meeting she had that day with the 3 members of the secret committee. General George Washington showed her a rough design of the flag. On the design, there was a 6-point star. Betsy demonstrated to the men with a snip of the scissors how to cut a 5-point star. According to an affidavit by Betsy Ross's granddaughter, Sophia Hildebrandt, the flag was then approved and adopted by Congress, and Betsy Ross was given an unlimited order to make flags for the government. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the flag. Although the colors aren't stated exactly in any document, the same colors are used on the United States seal, and officially red stands for the valor and hardiness, white is for purity and innocence, blue is for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. Now the red stripes on the flag stood for the British colors, and the white stripes stood from the succession from their home country. 13 stars in a circle represented the 13 colonies and were in a circle, so no one colony stood out over the rest. George Washington said, "The 13 stars in a circle stand as a new constellation in the heavens." The story of Betsy Ross and the first American flag does not come without some controversy. Because there are no actual first-hand official documentations describing the creation of the first American flag, the story is labeled as a myth by some. They claim the story is just another cherished tale that has its own place in American history, and the story survives because children, teachers, and publishers love her story. However, even with the lack of first-hand physical documentation, other historical evidence does exist. Several of Betsy Ross's children and grandchildren provided affidavits explaining Betsy's role in the creation of the flag according to Betsy Ross, as well as working in Betsy Ross's upholstery shop to make flags. Also, supporting Betsy Ross's tale is the lack of anyone else ever coming forward to claim the design or the creation of the American flag as their own. Betsy married Sea Captain Joseph Ashburn in 1777. Ashburn died in a prison in England after being captured at sea in 1782, leaving Betsy twice widowed. Betsy Ross returned to her life as a Quaker after a split in the community. Quakers were peace-loving and did not believe in owning firearms. After the war began, there was a disagreement, and a faction of those in favor of owning firearms split off and welcomed Betsy into their fold. Betsy married John Claypool in 1783, who died in 1817. Betsy had 7 children, 2 with Joseph Ashburn and 5 with John Claypool. 7 children total, 5 of those lived into adulthood. She continued working in her upholstery business along with her family until retiring in 1827. Betsy Ross died on January 30th, 1836 at the age of 84. The Betsy Ross House in Philadelphia draws in over 250,000 visitors each year, and only the Liberty Bell and the Independence Hall draw in more visitors than the home of the adored flag maker. Betsy Ross is a significant figure in the Revolutionary War. She was not able to fight in the war, but was able to give her allegiance to the Patriots, who fought for independence against Great Britain and the tyranny of the monarchy. She served her country in another way. Betsy Ross sewed the earliest version of the flag that is a symbol of America and the freedom that we all hold dear to our hearts. Thank you.